Hey everyone, this is Reg with Intelligence Advisors on June 1st, 2025. This is the very first episode of our new podcast, where we will be learning together about the topics that are impacting our world today. Our goal here is to understand the world, what's going on in it, and how we can maneuver in it effectively. Any topic is fair game, but we're going to be especially focused on topics related to the economy, finance, data, technology, artificial intelligence, and business, from entrepreneurship all the way to looking at the Magnificent Seven. A little about me. I majored in finance and information technology at university. I worked in tech for the last 10 years, and for the last 5 in particular, I've worked in research and data specifically, including for the last 4 years at a leading market intelligence firm that serves some of the largest media and technology brands in the world. I'm not a financial advisor, an investment advisor, or in general, anyone someone you should be relying on to make decisions. What I am, though, is extremely curious about learning what's really going on in our world. I'll be researching specific topics and trends in depth myself, and I'm going to share with you how I'm investigating and what I'm finding. I hope you will find my research and reporting interesting and useful. And to start off this discussion, I'm going to speak off the cuff about the topics that I find fascinating. Some of them I know well, some of them I don't get at all. First, some topics I don't get. Bitcoin. I don't understand why people want it so badly. Cryptocurrency in general. I have missed the boat, and I would like eventually to at least understand where the desire for and the value seen in those kinds of assets, if we can call them that, where that comes from. Tariffs, I understand the concept, but I don't really understand what is happening on the ground level and how various tariff policies can be understood to impact us. The money supply. I had a lot of economics classes in college, but there's a lot that I still don't think I understand about the money supply in particular. But I think there are things about the money supply that make an enormous difference on our lives and what's going on in them. And so I want to investigate that in a lot more detail. Politics, very much a mystery to me. I follow it pretty closely, but there's so much about what goes on in our political landscape that is truly unintelligible to me at this point. International trade, deficits, quid pro quo, all the back and forth we hear about, especially related to tariffs. I don't understand it that well, but I want to understand what's going on in international trade because I, again, believe that it's making a big difference in my life, in our economy, in our day-to-day lives, and I want to understand more about it. The bond market. It's been said that the bond market is the most powerful force in the world, and I believe that. I had classes on bonds in college. I've actually gotten quite a refresher recently on what's going on in the bond market, but I still don't feel like I understand exactly what's going on with the bond market. Who's in the bond market? How is it that they're so impactful in the decisions that get made in the world? That's one I'm looking forward to unpacking in the near future. Finally, real estate. Real estate seems to be the obsession of my generation, especially 3 or 4 years ago. I feel like I know a fair amount about the real estate market and landscape, but there's something that's still deeply unintelligible to me about real estate. And I want to uncover a lot more about how the whole market in real estate works and how we should really understand and think about real estate, whether it's from owning a home or from an investment asset perspective, or from understanding it from a policy and culture perspective. I think real estate is one of the most important aspects of our world and our economy. It's always been critical throughout history. And I want to understand more about how we should think about real estate and what different kinds of decisions, policies we should be paying attention to, and how we should understand how those impact our lives. Next, some topics I have some knowledge of and am fascinated by. The media landscape, all the different ways that attention is being captured in our world today. As I mentioned earlier, I've worked at a market intelligence firm that focused on serving the big media and tech companies. And I've seen in a lot of detail some of the things that those firms are thinking about when it comes to how they're serving us up, the things that we consume that take up so much of our attention, our conversation, and that impact ultimately the next topic that I'm very interested in, our culture. I think everyone has some degree of understanding and knowledge about culture. I have always been fascinated by how we're thinking about our values, how we interact with each other. And I've done a lot of research and investigation myself into culture in general and culture in the big picture, but also in detail. And I'm excited to share more about that as it becomes relevant to our discussion. Next, the big tech landscape. It's fascinating. The trusts of our age in some respects. Microsoft, Google, Apple, Amazon, Facebook. I've worked in this environment for the last 10 years, and I have some degree of understanding of how technology works and what's going on in that industry and how that world works in general, politically, among the people who work in it. And I'm excited to share more about what I understand and what I learn as we go along. Data and analytics. Data has become such a critical part of how our world works, and I've worked in data for the last 5 years, and I'm seeing how data and analytics is so relevant to all the things that are happening with AI as we observe, and I believe that I can shed some light on exactly how that is working in our world too. Finally, entrepreneurship and small business. I've been a business owner myself, and I have been very interested in entrepreneurship for several years. And that is certainly a big part of what's going on in our culture, in our economic world. And I think there's a lot to be discussed and looked into about those topics. So that's kind of an overview of the major areas that I plan to focus on as we get into this. Again, there's plenty of topics that I want to cover that I may not be an expert on. And there are a number of topics that I'm excited to talk about, go in depth on, that I believe I do have some credentials to discuss. And either way, I think we're going to learn a lot. So our first deep dive is going to be about money, the money supply, fiscal stimulus. How do these things work? How do these decisions that get made, these decisions about money that in some sense get made up, right? Everyone understands to some degree that money is something that we all collectively agree to. But how does it work? There is something tangible about it. There is something that is real about money, whether it's the US dollar, currencies in general, or cryptocurrencies that people are now using. How does it work? How can we understand it and make decisions based on it? So for the next report, I'm going to go into a specific topic related to money that I just discovered in the last few months that I think is fascinating and really could help shed light on this subject. It's called the Kalecki-Levy profit decomposition formula. This formula seeks to explain how money flows through the economy. I found some fascinating articles and research on this topic, and I'm going to research them in depth and explain them to you in, hopefully, a clear, simple way. This topic has profound implications for what's going on in our world. I don't know the degree to which it will be useful to navigate the ongoing changes in our economy, how well it will be able to be used to forecast what's going to happen, whether it's in assets or in inflation or many other areas of our lives. But I believe it could at least potentially help us avoid some errors. So if you'll join me next time as we take the next step in looking at the Kalecki-Levy profit decomposition, I hope you'll join me, and I hope that we can learn some things together.